Welcome to Lord of Frights, the channel where the most chilling, terrifying, and mysterious horror stories are told. In today's video, we will step into a world of darkness, where schools that seem like mere places of learning become the center of disturbing supernatural events. From dark hallways echoing with invisible footsteps to abandoned classrooms where ghostly figures lurk, each story carries a haunting reminder of the secrets buried within these walls. Be prepared, as the stories you're about to hear are based on true events shared by those who lived through them. Each tale is an unsettling experience that will send shivers down your spine. Make sure you're in a safe place and ready to face your fears, because up next are 5 terrifying true horror stories from schools. Let's begin. Story 1: The Haunted School. Winston High School was once a peaceful place bustling with students and teachers. However, an incident in 1975 changed everything. Emily Foster, a model student in her senior year, was found dead under mysterious circumstances in the second-floor hallway. No one understood the cause of her death, and from that moment on, ghost stories began to spread throughout the school. Many students claimed they had heard strange footsteps at night, and lights flickered for no reason. The rumors of Emily's ghost haunting the school only heightened the tension in the air. No one dared to stay in the school at night, and everyone avoided the second-floor hallway. Ben, Lisa, and Jake, 3 seniors who didn't believe in such stories, decided to undertake a bold challenge: to stay overnight at the school to uncover the mystery of Emily. They prepared thoroughly, bringing cameras, flashlights, and some snacks. As night fell, the moon cast a dim light over the campus, and the sounds of the night began to echo. As they entered the school, a chilling atmosphere enveloped them. Strange noises echoed from all directions, causing everyone to shiver. They decided to start on the first floor, where more people had been, before slowly making their way up to the second floor. As they stepped onto the stairs, Ben felt a shiver run down his spine. Although Lisa was also anxious, she tried to reassure everyone. "It's just a bunch of tall tales," she said. But when they reached the second-floor hallway, everything changed. The long hallway was dimly lit, and the flickering lights created eerie shadows. Suddenly, they heard faint footsteps as if someone was walking toward them. Lisa froze, gripping Ben's hand. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Ben nodded, trying to reassure the group. The lights flickered off, and a cold breeze swept through the hallway, thickening the air. A shadowy figure glided toward them, appearing to be a girl with long, disheveled hair. Their hearts raced. They looked at each other, speechless. The figure moved closer, and when the lights came back on, they saw a young girl with a pale face and hollow eyes staring straight at them. "Emily," Lisa called softly. The ghostly figure paused, her lips moving but producing no sound. "Run!" Ben shouted, and all 3 dashed toward the stairs. But as they approached the exit, the door suddenly slammed shut, as if held shut by an invisible force. They struggled to open it, but it was futile. Whispers filled the air, echoing their fears. "You can't escape her." The world around them became chaotic. The shadow of Emily loomed closer, her face twisted in pain and sorrow. "I don't want to be here, help me." Ben, Lisa, and Jake finally reached a moment of despair when they pushed against the door, and suddenly, it swung open. They sprinted outside, panting for breath, but when they glanced back, they saw Emily standing in the hallway, tears streaming down her face. "I don't want to be here. Please help me." The trio ran out of the school, vowing never to return at night. Yet every night, as the students and staff fell asleep, the sound of footsteps echoed in the hallways, and the lights flickered without explanation, sending chills down everyone's spine. Story 2: The Abandoned Classroom. Classroom 13 at Brentwood School had become an urban legend, filled with tales of the bizarre. After the sudden death of teacher Harold Wilson, no one dared to enter the room. Instead, students joked that what happened in that classroom wasn't just a prank, but a terrifying reality. Rebecca, a young teacher new to the school, had heard the stories but didn't believe in the unexplainable. One late afternoon, after all the students had gone home, she decided to investigate the truth. The room was locked tight, but from inside, a flickering light caught her attention, making her unable to resist her curiosity. She knocked lightly on the door. "Is anyone in there?" No answer. She decided to open the door, and to her surprise, it swung wide. The air inside was cold and heavy. As Rebecca stepped in, the light from an old desk lamp flickered erratically. The room was empty, but it felt like it contained an unseen presence. Rebecca looked around, sensing something lurking. Suddenly, a cold gust of wind blew through, extinguishing the light. She gasped as a voice whispered in her ear, "Get out of here." She frantically searched for the light switch, but in the darkness, everything became chaotic. A shadowy figure materialized before her, Harold Wilson's ghost, but not as she remembered him. His face was pale, marked with ghastly bruises. "You shouldn't be here," he said, his voice deep and hollow. Rebecca was terrified and bolted toward the door, but it slammed shut. She could hear the creaking of chairs and desks moving around her, and faint laughter echoed from all directions. The atmosphere grew heavier, making it hard to breathe. Harold's ghost approached her, and she felt his icy presence enveloping her. "Don't be scared. I just want to be free," he whispered, but his face showed rage and desperation. Suddenly, the lights in the room flickered violently, and strange sounds filled the air. The pictures on the walls began to shake, and objects around her seemed to come to life. Rebecca saw the ghostly images of other students, each with panic-stricken faces. They had been trapped here before her, and now all were caught in the clutches of darkness. "Help us! Get us out of here!" they whispered like cries for mercy from the afterlife. Realizing that if she didn't escape soon, she too would become part of this haunted tale, Rebecca finally remembered the locked classroom door. They needed to return there to free the trapped souls. They bolted out of the classroom, racing back down the hall. As they approached the haunted classroom, the lights flickered, and the image of Harold began to appear, desperate and sorrowful. "I can't leave. Please help me," he cried. With all their strength, they pushed the door open, and a strong wind burst forth from within, as if something powerful was trying to escape. Chaotic sounds erupted, and the ghosts of the trapped students surrounded them. Cindy screamed, "We will help you." Together, they opened the classroom door wider, and suddenly, all the eerie figures vanished, taking the horrifying sounds with them. Harold's ghost appeared grateful before fading into nothingness. The next morning, the haunted classroom was sealed off. Teachers found Rebecca, Jake, and Alex unconscious outside, none recalling what had happened. But deep down, they knew they had encountered something truly horrific. From that day forward, they vowed never to approach Classroom 13 again. Story 3. The cursed locker, Locker 47 at Greenwood High, had become a chilling mystery. Years ago, a student named Michael Anderson had vanished during a gym class, and this locker was the last place anyone had seen him. Although searches turned up nothing, it was said that the locker was cursed, and anyone daring to open it would face unspeakable horrors. Cindy, a curious and adventurous girl, wanted to uncover the truth behind the frightening stories. One evening, after all the students had left, Cindy and her friends, Alex and Sarah, decided to take on the challenge. When they arrived at the locker, Cindy felt a bone-chilling sensation wash over her. The locker looked old, covered in dust and with deep scratches. Alex, always eager for a thrill, decided to open it. "Let's just see what's inside," he said, reaching for the handle. As Alex opened the locker, it was empty, just a dark void. But as the beam of their flashlight illuminated the interior, they saw an old photo of Michael taped to the inside. Suddenly, a gust of cold wind rushed out, making them shiver. "Leave it alone. We shouldn't be here," Sarah said, her face pale. But Alex, filled with curiosity, pressed on. "I just want to know what happened to him." Just then, a strange sound echoed from inside the locker, like a knocking. Cindy felt her heart race. "Close it now!" she yelled, but it was too late. The locker shook violently, and the door slammed shut. A dark shadow passed by, causing them to recoil in fear. They turned and ran towards a nearby classroom, but as they entered, the door slammed shut behind them. In the dark, they could hear the heavy breathing of a spirit. "She was here. No one escapes." The voice resonated, deep and chilling. Cindy, Alex, and Sarah frantically searched for a way out, but every door was locked tight. They felt trapped in a nightmare, surrounded by whispers of the lost souls. "Help me. Save me." Finally, Cindy remembered the cursed locker. They needed to return to it to free the trapped souls. They dashed back down the hall, racing toward Locker 47. When they reached it, the lights flickered ominously, and Michael's spirit began to materialize. "I can't escape. Help me." With every ounce of strength, they opened the locker together. This time, a powerful wind rushed out, as if something desperately wanted to break free. Chaotic sounds erupted, and the images of lost students surrounded them. Cindy cried out, "We'll help you." They struggled together, opening the locker wider, and suddenly all the ghostly figures vanished, taking the horrifying sounds with them. Michael's spirit appeared grateful before fading into the abyss. When the sun rose the next day, Locker 47 was sealed. Teachers found Cindy, Alex, and Sarah unconscious outside, none remembering the terrifying events. Yet deep within their hearts, they knew those souls had been freed, and they would never dare approach that cursed locker again. Story 4. The Whispering Walls. Brookstone High School was a sprawling campus, but the old science lab on the second floor was its darkest secret. For decades, whispers had echoed through the halls about the peculiar phenomenon that occurred there, voices that seemed to seep from the very walls. Legend had it that a brilliant but troubled student named Claire had met her tragic end in that lab during a botched experiment, and her restless spirit remained, seeking justice. One evening, Daniel, Mia, and Jake, 3 adventurous seniors, decided to investigate the whispers for themselves. Armed with flashlights, a camera, and a voice recorder, they crept into the school just as twilight cast long shadows over the building. The air was thick with anticipation as they reached the lab's door, which creaked ominously as they entered. The room was dimly lit, cluttered with dusty equipment and old textbooks. Mia felt a chill run down her spine as she took a deep breath. "This place gives me the creeps," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Just think of the fame we'll get if we uncover the truth," Daniel replied, grinning as he flipped on his flashlight. The beam illuminated the far wall, and for a moment they saw a shadow flicker. A mere trick of the light, they thought. They set up their equipment, recording their exploration as they searched for signs of the paranormal. Time passed slowly, and the only sounds were their nervous laughter and the creaking of the old building. Then, as if on cue, a soft whisper broke through the silence. "Help me!" They froze, exchanging uneasy glances. "Did you hear that?" Mia asked, her heart racing. Daniel nodded, his excitement turning to unease. "Let's try to communicate." "Who are you?" Jake asked into the darkness. The room fell silent for a moment. Then the whispers returned, louder and more frantic. "Help me! I'm trapped!" "Claire?" Daniel called out, hoping the name would resonate. The lights flickered ominously, casting long shadows on the walls. The temperature dropped, and they could see their breath in the cold air. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from the storage closet, and the door swung open, revealing nothing but darkness. "Let's get out of here," Mia urged, but Daniel, emboldened by adrenaline, moved closer to the closet. "We need to see what's inside." As he reached for the door, a shadowy figure surged forward from the darkness, a girl with hollow eyes and a twisted expression of agony. "Get out!" she shrieked, her voice echoing off the walls. The friends stumbled back, terror flooding their veins. In a panic, they turned to flee, but the lab door slammed shut, trapping them inside. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of voices pleading for release. "Help us! Save us!" They felt a cold breeze swirling around them, and the shadows thickened. Desperate to escape, Daniel remembered the voice recorder. "We need to listen to her story," he shouted. They huddled together, pressing play as the whispers filled the room. The voice of Claire emerged, recounting her tragic tale of experimentation gone wrong, how she had been trapped in a world between life and death, her spirit bound to the walls of the lab. Realizing they needed to confront the spirit's pain, Daniel shouted, "We hear you. We want to help you find peace." The room went silent for a moment, the whispers fading into a tense stillness. Slowly the door creaked open, revealing the darkened hallway outside. As they stepped through the threshold, they turned back to see Claire's spirit lingering by the equipment. Her expression softened, and she nodded as if to say thank you before dissipating into a wisp of smoke. The air grew warm, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted. The next day, they shared their experience with the school principal, who organized a memorial for Claire. The once haunted science lab was transformed into a space of learning and creativity, free from the whispers that had plagued it for so long. The friends knew they had not only uncovered the truth, but had also freed a tortured soul from her pain. Story 5. The Shadow in the Auditorium. The Crestwood School Auditorium was renowned for its performances, but was equally infamous for its dark legend. It was said that Mrs. Hawthorne, the beloved drama teacher, had vanished one fateful night during a rehearsal. Her spirit was rumored to haunt the stage, seeking vengeance on those who disrespected the arts. One night, as the school prepared for its annual play, 3 students, Olivia, Ryan, and Sam, decided to rehearse late into the night. The auditorium was dimly lit, the shadows cast by the stage lights creating an atmosphere of eerie anticipation. Olivia could feel a heavy weight in the air, as if the building itself was holding its breath. "Are you sure we should be here this late?" Olivia asked, glancing around nervously. Ryan shrugged, adjusting his collar with a hint of bravado. "It's just a story, Liv. Besides, we need to practice." As they began their rehearsal, strange things started happening. The lights flickered intermittently, casting flickering shadows on the walls. Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Just then, a loud crash resonated from the back of the auditorium, making them all jump. "What was that?" Sam exclaimed, his eyes wide. "Probably just something falling," Ryan said dismissively, though he didn't look convinced. They continued their rehearsal, yes, but the tension in the air thickened with each passing moment. As the clock struck midnight, the auditorium fell eerily silent. The stage lights began to dim, and a cold breeze swept through the room, causing the curtains to flutter. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows at the back of the auditorium, a tall, dark silhouette that seemed to pulse with energy. "Who's there?" Olivia shouted, her heart racing. The figure didn't respond. Instead, it moved closer, revealing the ghostly form of Mrs. Hawthorne. Her once kind face was now twisted with anger and despair. "You disrespect the arts?" she shrieked, her voice echoing through the auditorium. Ryan instinctively stepped back, but Olivia found herself frozen in place. "We didn't mean to offend you," she pleaded. "We just want to perform." The ghost's eyes burned with intensity. "You don't understand what it means to sacrifice for your craft," she cried, her voice rising in pitch. The lights flickered violently, and the sound of shattering glass filled the air. The students could feel the temperature plummeting, and the stage began to shake. "We're sorry," Sam yelled, panic rising in his voice. "Please, we just want to honor you." At that moment, the auditorium plunged into darkness. Olivia fumbled for her flashlight, and when she turned it on, she found the ghost of Mrs. Hawthorne standing directly in front of her, tears streaming down her spectral face. "You think this is a game?" she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "I gave everything for my art, and you take it for granted." Realizing they needed to confront her pain, Olivia took a step forward. "We respect you and what you've done for this school. We'll make this play the best it can be." The ghost paused, her expression shifting from rage to sorrow. "You promise?" "Yes," Olivia replied earnestly. "We want to honor your memory and the dedication it takes to be an artist." The auditorium fell silent, the air thick with tension. Slowly the ghost nodded, her form flickering. "Then prove it," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Make me proud." With that, the lights flickered back on, illuminating the stage as the spirit began to fade, a serene smile replacing her earlier anger. The next night, as the students performed, they dedicated the play to Mrs. Hawthorne, inviting her spirit to watch. As the final curtain fell, the audience erupted in applause, and for the first time they felt a warm presence enveloping the auditorium, a feeling of acceptance and peace. From that day forward, the auditorium thrived, filled with creativity and passion, and the spirit of Mrs. Hawthorne finally found her rest, knowing her legacy would live on through the hearts of her students.